Assalamu alaikum everyone. So today we are going to be starting a new chapter called Enterprise from new unit 1 of Business Studies, Business and its Environment. So over here we are going to discuss about the basics of business studies, the basics of the whole chapter that revolves around this chapter. So we're going to be starting from scratch about what is business, the purpose of business activity, how we add value to a product, and opportunity cost. That's what we are going to be discussing in today's video. So without further ado, let's begin. Now the first thing that comes into our mind is that what is a business? What is the basic definition of a business? So I have written over here, a business is basically any organization that uses resources to meet the needs of customers by providing a product or service that they demand. You can take anything out there. You have multiple examples. A restaurant, what does the restaurant do? It fulfills the need of food. What does a grocery store do? It fulfills the needs of necessary items like water bottles or medicines or stuff like that. Sorry, not a grocery store, a general department store. So what does a medical do? It fulfills the needs of medicines and medical equipments. So that's all. These are all the businesses. There's a lot of examples for businesses. So it's generally just one thing, that there's generally a trade being given. You're giving a product or service in return for some money. That is the value of the product. So that is basically the business. Any organization that uses resources to meet the demands of customers by providing a customer or service, by providing a product or service. So what is the purpose of business activity? Business activity at all stages involve creating and adding value to resources such as raw materials and semi-finished goods, and making them more desirable to and thus valued by the final purchaser. So whenever you have, like, what is the purpose? You are basically adding value to a product. For example, raw iron. You can't directly sell off raw irons. Yes, that is a part of some of the business, but another business might try to refine it and make it more usable to the final customers. Like in kitchens we need knives and spoons and forks, so one of those businesses, they refine the normal iron ore to these spoons and one, etc. So all these, at all stages, business try to add value to a product. They just manufacture more products, they make it more accessible, they try to change the product in a way that they can meet the demand. That's the whole idea. They add value to the product, they create value for the product. So that's the purpose. Then factors of production. What are the factors of production? These are the resources needed by business to produce goods or services. Okay, let me just a little bit change over here. Yeah, all good. To produce goods or services, examples include land, labor, capital, and enterprise. So whatever the resources we need for whatever resources the business needs to produce goods or services, these are referred to as factors of production. Land, that's the basic area where the business is located. It should be close to customers, it should be close to raw materials, it should have basic infrastructure facilities. We discuss more about land in operations chapter, where we discuss about location. Then there's labor. What type of labor do we need? Skilled, unskilled, temporary, permanent? Where should we, how much is the rate of how much employment is there, how much unemployment is there? So depending on that, you can give salaries accordingly. What is the basic minimum wage of that country? So that's about labor. We discuss more about labor in unit 2, which is basically about human resource management. Then there's capital. What is capital? Capital is the basic funds needed by the business. This include not just monetary but non-monetary funds as well. You don't need just money, you also need equity and the shareholders and all. The capital, it doesn't mean just the normal money, it also means machineries and all. That's the basic capital thing. And we're going to be discussing more about capital in the 5th chapter, that is concerned with money and finance, basically business finance. And then lastly there's enterprise. This is the most important factor of production, which actually combines these 3 factors of production to carry out a business, to produce some goods or services which are demanded by customers. Enterprises are these are entrepreneurs. Enterprise generally means entrepreneurs, like these are consist of entrepreneurs. So what is entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is a financial risk taker who generally tries to make a profit by organizing the factors of production. These three factors of production are organized by entrepreneur. So how do they do that? What types of skills do they need? And what's the basic idea behind that all? We're gonna be discussing all that in this unit 1 and all these chapters coming ahead. So I hope that's all clear. Let's move on to value addition. Added value. Now what is added value? Added value is the difference between the price of a finished product or service and the cost of the inputs involved in processing it. For example, spoons, let's say. What is the per unit cost of an iron like iron ore, and what's the selling price of a spoon, a set of spoons maybe. So that's the difference between both of these prices will give you the added value. It tells us how much of the value you have added, the business has added to make that final product. The value. Now added value is not equal to profit. Some might say, oh, this is the same thing as profit. No, this is not the same thing as profit. Not the same thing as profit. Why is that? Profit is the difference between selling price and the cost, unit cost, you can say. It's not this. This is the difference between the selling price and the cost of input. Profit includes much more than just this cost of input. You also have to, when you from this added value, profit can be calculated, but it's not the profit, it's not equal to profit, because in added value you still haven't given salaries, you still haven't paid the rents and all. After you pay all these other expenses, then what you are left with is profit. Added value also consists of all that cost. So in added value we only consider the input cost, the cost of raw materials and all. We don't consider the production process and all. The production process, the cost involved in the production process and all, that basically is the added value, how much value you have added to the product. So how can we add value to a product or service? We can reduce costs by changing suppliers or purchasing in bulk. If the cost is reduced, then there's a greater difference, so hence greater value. And if we purchase in bulk, we're going to be discussing more about economies of scale in unit 4, operations. So in over here, I can explain it like in generally it's like whenever you buy, not just if you buy one thing at a time opposed to 100 items at a time, you'll get some discount when you're buying 100 items at a time. For example, if you're buying let's say spoon for $1 each, but if you take hundreds of those, then you might get a small discount. Let's say you might get each spoon at a rate of $0.8 instead of the $1. So how much money will you save if you took one spoon at a price of $100, but now you're getting 100 spoons each with the price of $1. Okay, but now that you are purchasing 100 spoons, you are availing some discount, you ask for discount. So instead of $1 per spoon, you're getting $0.8 per spoon. So the overall cost will be 80. Instead of $100 you have to pay $80, so you are saving $20. That's the reducing in cost, which is how we are getting it by purchasing in bulk. This is economies of scale, financial economies of scale. Purchasing economies of scale. Yeah. So we can also increase price to reflect enhanced product or service. If your product is more better than other products, so you can increase the prices. But increasing prices is not too easy. We have to consider a lot of things when we change prices, and we've discussed that in chapter number 3, in unit 3. in marketing mix, price. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out as well. We can try to create a more attractive packaging to advertise the product as well as protect it. This way the product will be more attractive, it will have more value to it. So you can increase your prices a bit and people will be like more attracted to the product. So you have added value to the product. It can also, branding is one of the most important things that is concerned with added value. Branding can be used to build trust in the product. So whenever you have added value to a product, people generally gain more trust in the product. They become more attached to the product, and instead of going to competitors, they go to you regularly. So you create an image of your product, and you might even create a brand. Branding is of course discussed more in unit 3, marketing mix only, so you can check that out as well. Then USPs, unique selling points. We are going to be discussing more about unique selling points. I think we have already discussed, yeah, we've already discussed unique selling points in unit 3, same chapter, marketing mix, I believe. So you can check that out as well, what are USPs and all. But basically these are unique selling points that your product offers, that tells that your product is different from other products. So hence you can charge a greater price, and greater price means greater added value. If you have well-trained staff with good communication skills and clean environment, that also means you have added value to the service, not the product, the service, because this is trained staff, you can say in hotels or in a garage, maybe. So in these businesses where you are not selling a product but instead you are selling services, providing services, over there you need trained staff with good communication skills and clean environment, as they can contribute to the added value. Now opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative which is given up by taking a particular decision. So it's an opportunity cost. If you have to choose between two things, you have option of two things, option 1 or option 2. Whatever is the cost, if you choose option 1, the benefits of option 2 becomes your opportunity cost. If you chose option 2, the benefits of option 1 becomes your opportunity cost. For example, if the government has to choose between fighter jets for defense over hospitals for health, hospital is the opportunity cost, the benefits from the hospital. You are having less hospitals now, but instead, because you have invested in fighter jets for defense, but you have compromised something, you have compromised the hospitals for health. This compromise you are making, that is basically the opportunity cost. A simple example that can be given is studying instead of watching movies. So the fun which you can have, the entertainment you could have from watching the movie becomes your opportunity cost. So that's the basic idea. There haven't been much questions in opportunity cost. There's just a basic definition or how it is related to business. So every time in every decision we make, we have to create some opportunity cost. There's some opportunity cost involved. For example, if you increase the price, your demand will generally decrease, because if it's general thing, like if prices increase, people might switch to different competitors, they might switch to different brands, so your customers will decrease. But since you have increased the price, your profit will increase. You're increasing your profit at the expense of your sales revenue. That it could also be in opposite direction, like if you lower the price, your sales will increase, so your profit might decrease, per unit profit might decrease, but your overall sales revenue is increasing. So the decrease in price, the decrease in unit profit, that becomes your opportunity cost. So that's how opportunity cost is involved at every decision of business decision making. So that's all about today. Hope you guys understood it. Thanks for watching. Allah Hafiz.